The morning sun had only just begun to stretch across the tarmac, casting soft orange glows over the cold steel of the international airport. Inside the terminal, everything was still, a hush blanketing the early hours like a soft veil. It was peaceful, quiet. Only the distant hum of announcements and the occasional roll of suitcases broke the silence. Near Gate 37, a man stood patiently. He wore a simple hoodie, dark jeans, and sneakers, not the attire you'd expect of a man of status. No entourage, no cameras, no grand entrance. To anyone watching, he was just another passenger waiting for a flight. But he wasn't just anyone. He was Ibrahim Traore, the president of Burkina Faso. He preferred it this way. No uniform, no red carpet, no spectacle. Just a humble traveler among the people he served. To Traore, power wasn't a thing to flaunt. It was a duty to carry quietly, respectfully. His trip to Europe had been intense. Diplomatic talks, strategic meetings, hard conversations about the future of gold, resources, and Africa's rightful sovereignty. But those were behind him now. All he wanted was to return home. As he made his way toward the Air France flight bound for Ouagadougou, he greeted one of the airport workers in soft French. "Bonjour, ça va?" he said with a warm smile. The worker smiled back, unaware of who he truly was. That was the magic of Ibrahim Traore. He could walk among the people, undetected, and preferred it that way. He boarded the plane calmly, nodded at the flight crew, and settled into seat 2A in business class, a window seat. He pulled out his phone and began reading, quietly. Behind him, however, something was already brewing. A senior French businessman, the CEO of a multinational energy conglomerate, had just arrived at the gate. He too was headed to Burkina Faso, only for business, of course. In his world, everything was first class, champagne, and personal attendance. The idea of being denied such treatment, unthinkable. When the airline staff informed him that business class was full, he became furious. "No, that's not possible," he snapped. "I'm a strategic partner in half of West Africa." The gate agents tried to explain, but the CEO wasn't used to the word no. He paced impatiently, phone in hand, assistants behind him. Eventually, one of the staff radioed in for help. A senior flight attendant arrived, tall, thin, and dressed immaculately in Air France uniform, Claire. Her smile was rehearsed, polite but cold. She walked onto the plane to resolve the seating issue. She scanned the business cabin with clinical eyes. Then her gaze stopped on Traore. A black man, alone, no assistant, no expensive watch, no apparent authority. She approached. "Bonjour, monsieur. May I see your boarding pass?" Traore nodded and handed it to her without hesitation. The seat number was correct. Still, something about him didn't sit right with her. Perhaps it was unconscious bias, or perhaps something deeper, a belief that people who looked like him didn't belong in seats like that. Moments later, she returned. "I'm sorry, sir," she said, tone polite but sharp. "We may need to relocate you to economy. It's just a small adjustment." There it was, subtle but unmistakable. Traore looked up, eyes calm. "And why me?" he asked. "No reason," she replied, "just for operational convenience." "A guest more important than me?" She didn't answer, just smiled. But Traore didn't raise his voice. He didn't argue. He simply said, "No, I will remain in my seat." Claire blinked. She wasn't expecting resistance. Certainly not from him. She leaned closer. "Sir, I insist. It's for the smooth functioning of the flight." Still, Traore did not move. "If it's operational," he said, voice unwavering, "why choose me and not anyone else?" Passengers began to shift in their seats. Eyes glanced over, some ears perked up. Claire walked away, visibly irritated. She whispered to a colleague and then tried a different approach. Ask another black man to move. Then another. Each one looked confused. Each one hesitated, until finally one of them asked, "Why me?" That's when Traore stood. "Enough." The cabin hushed. "You are making decisions based on skin, not on tickets. That is discrimination." Claire's smile faded. "Sir, please don't cause a scene." He met her eyes. "I am not causing a scene. I am holding you accountable." Still, she did not know who he was. At that moment, the CEO finally boarded. Claire greeted him with lavish attention, champagne in hand, bowing slightly as he passed. He strutted to his seat like a king returning to his castle. He didn't even glance at Traore. But Claire was unsettled. She avoided looking at him now. Something in his stare had unnerved her. Calm, quiet, powerful. Mid-flight, she returned to him. "Would you like anything to drink, sir?" "Water is fine," he replied. No smile, no warmth, just civility. The hours passed. Most passengers slept, but Traore remained awake, gazing out at the clouds. He didn't fume, he didn't plot revenge, he simply waited, because he knew what was coming. As the plane descended into Ouagadougou, whispers began to ripple through the cabin. Are those military vehicles? Is someone important arriving? The CEO smirked. Probably for me, he joked to Claire. She laughed, adjusting his seat. But when the plane touched down, reality came crashing in. On the tarmac stood a full presidential convoy, black SUVs, elite guards, ministers lined in rows saluting. The head of security, the minister of defense, cameras, flags, a military band. Claire peeked out the window. Her face dropped. This can't been. A tall officer boarded the plane. He strode through the aisle, boots echoing. He stopped at seat 2A and saluted. Monsieur le Président, welcome home. The cabin fell into stunned silence. Claire gasped. The CEO froze. Traore stood, calm, silent, dignified. The officer turned to Claire and the CEO. You two are being detained for questioning, he said. You've insulted the head of state on national soil. Claire stammered. Wait, no, I didn't know. I was just doing my job. The officer didn't blink. You didn't need to know who he was. You just needed to treat him like a human being. They were escorted off the plane in handcuffs. Passengers stared in disbelief. Phones recorded. Whispers became shouts. Outside, the crowd roared. Their president had returned, not as a man in gold, but a man of dignity. And now, the world would know. Back in the capital, Traore addressed a small press gathering. In Burkina Faso, we do not judge a man by his skin or his money. We judge by his heart, by his humility. That is the new Africa. His words went viral. And that moment, quiet at first, like a whisper in an airport, became legend.